Ever caught yourself replaying the same exact video like nothing else even exists? Not because it's new, but because somehow it just feels right again. And for a second, everything in your head goes quiet without trying. You might tell yourself it's just boredom or nothing better to watch. Deep down, it feels a little more specific than simple boredom. Because out of thousands of options, you still choose the same exact one. And that choice isn't random, even if it feels automatic at first. Your brain actually prefers what it already understands without needing extra effort. Familiar things don't surprise you, and that makes them feel safe and predictable. When life feels uncertain, your mind quietly starts searching for that safety. Think about when your day feels messy, confusing, or slightly overwhelming inside. You don't look for something exciting, you look for something you already know. Because new content means new emotions, and your brain isn't ready for that. It wants something stable, something that won't suddenly shift your feelings again. So it brings you back to what already gave you a known reaction. Not because it's the best choice, but because it's the safest one. And that's how rewatching becomes less about entertainment and more about comfort. Your brain is basically saying, I've been here before, this feels manageable. Even if nothing changes, that sameness starts feeling strangely reassuring to you, because unpredictability feels heavier than repetition when your mind is already tired. Now think about how you react after a long, emotional, or stressful day. You don't want something new, you want something that doesn't demand attention. Something where you already know what happens next without needing to think. That's why your brain picks the same video instead of exploring anything different. Because thinking takes energy and your mind is trying to conserve it. So it loops something familiar instead of forcing you into new mental effort. People might call this laziness, but it's actually emotional energy management. Your brain is protecting you from overload, not avoiding effort for no reason. And the more overwhelmed you feel, the more you repeat familiar content. Because repetition creates a small space where nothing unexpected can happen. You might even notice you rewatch the same scenes, not entire videos sometimes. Specific moments that gave you a certain feeling the first time, and your brain keeps returning to that exact emotional experience again. Almost like it's trying to recreate something it doesn't want to lose. That's because your brain remembers feelings more strongly than the actual content. So it keeps chasing that same emotional state over and over. Not for the video itself, but for how it made you feel inside. And when life feels unstable, those small emotional anchors become even more important. You're not just watching, you're regulating something internally without realizing it. And that's why stopping feels harder than it should for something so simple. Now think about times when you're scrolling but nothing actually feels interesting. You skip new things quickly, almost like your mind rejects them instantly. But the moment you see something familiar, you stop without hesitation. Because your brain doesn't have to evaluate it, it already knows everything. There's no risk, no uncertainty, no emotional guessing involved at all. That lack of uncertainty feels more valuable than discovering something new. So instead of curiosity, your behavior starts being guided by comfort. And over time, that comfort becomes a default pattern you don't question. It's not about preference anymore, it's about what feels easiest to handle. Your brain will always choose easy when it feels mentally overloaded. You might also notice this happens more when you feel slightly disconnected inside. Like when you're around people but not fully present in the moment. Or when conversations feel distant even though you're physically there. Your mind quietly escapes into something familiar that doesn't demand interaction. Because familiar content doesn't expect anything from you emotionally or socially. It just exists, allowing you to stay there without pressure or effort. And that creates a small space where you don't have to respond. No expectations, no reactions, just something predictable running in the background. That's why it feels easier than engaging with real-time situations around you, because real life requires energy that your brain might not have right now. There's also something interesting about control when it comes to rewatching content. You already know what happens, so nothing can surprise or overwhelm you. That gives you a sense of control you don't always feel elsewhere, because in real life, outcomes are uncertain and constantly changing around you. But here, everything is fixed, predictable, and completely within your expectations. So your brain chooses that controlled environment over unpredictable real experiences. Not because it's better, but because it feels emotionally safer in that moment. Safety becomes your priority when your mind feels slightly unstable inside. Even if nothing is wrong, your brain still prepares for possible discomfort. So it chooses what it already knows instead of risking something unfamiliar. Over time, this pattern becomes something you don't even notice anymore. You just open the same thing without thinking about why you do, and it starts feeling like a normal part of your routine, even though it's actually a response to something deeper happening inside. Your brain isn't just seeking entertainment, it's trying to stay balanced, trying to avoid overload, confusion, or unexpected emotional shift, and repetition becomes its easiest way to maintain that balance quietly. So what looks simple from outside is actually doing something important internally. You're not just rewatching, you're creating a small sense of stability. So tell me, is it really about the video or something deeper inside you?